All right. Just let everyone know I'm going to record this meeting, as with all these meetings, and post it to our YouTube channel. We're still trying to find a good place to post it that's accessible in China, but we'll figure that out. And I'll do my best to keep notes and post those notes to our wiki site. We'll wait another minute or two. We have a couple of people joined by audio only. Slack. All right, I'll get started in earnest. So welcome everybody to our kickoff call. And hopefully this will become a bi-weekly call of interest to everybody as we get to know each other and get to discuss more personally some of the issues that we're working on, significant features, areas of interest, anything related to OpenWhisk, really. We have some ideas for future meetings that we'll look at the end of the agenda. The topics today, we just want to introduce everybody. We'll try to figure out how to go around the room with Zoom. That's my guide. Then we'll go through open comments around some major areas that I've identified in the OpenWhisk project. And we'll just open it up for any comments about significant features or topics going on in those areas. Maybe I'll solicit people to speak up. We'll look for agenda topics for future weeks, not necessarily next call, but any topics we want to see raised, if we can get people to respond or address those topics. And if there's any ideas for features or ideas that either that we've had on the mailing list or we're just having now ad hoc and we can move to the mailing list, we can do that as well. Then I want to confirm the moderator for the next call because I want the moderation to be shared amongst typically the PPMC membership. And I think I have Jeremiah to do the next one. Just want to confirm that. Anybody have any questions about the agenda or format? Okay, I'll start off by introducing myself, then I'll figure out who to poke next. I'm Matt Rakowski. I've worked around open standards and open source for any number of years, open standards going back to the late 90s, back to XML 1.0. And my job is to help with open source communities be developed within IBM. And right now I'm working on Apache OpenWhisk. So my goal is to help incubate the project towards graduation and to contribute along the way to grow the community and grow the outreach to developers. And we have a group of people who work with me to accomplish that. So who wants to go next? Rob, do you want to go next since you're the first to join?
Okay, I can do that. I'm also Rob Allen. I'm self-employed, come from the UK, API developer mostly. I tend to integrate legacy databases onto the web and create APIs for them, that sort of thing. Obviously interested in OpenWhisk, mostly as an observer. I think it could be useful commercially for me long term. And I like that it's open source, so that makes it interesting.
Hello.
Anything else you need from me? Matt covered.
You're on mute, by the way, Matt.
Oh, thanks. I try to be kind. Thanks very much. That was perfect. Mark Peak, are you able to speak?
Hi, Matt. Yeah, I'm working from a Starbucks right now due to some scheduling difficulties. So let me just be quick. I'm a principal engineer with VMware, and we're looking at what we want to do with respect to on-prem, private cloud, serverless. There's a lot of options out there, and OpenWhisk is one of the more mature ones, and I've had interactions with a lot of the IBM people in the past. I'd say I'm also participating on the CNCF serverless working group, where we're trying to have an opinion about what serverless is and what it means for CNCF. So I thought it would be interesting to at least drop into this, even though I may be more of a lurker due to working from Starbucks.
Thanks, man. So yeah, I was interested. I heard that they were starting a working group for serverless at CNCF. And I know my colleague Doug Davis perhaps is a member of that, and I should talk to him about joining. So
yeah, Doug and I talk all the time about that.
Cool, thanks. Daniel, you want to go next?
I was going to say, yeah, so Mark, Doug, and myself are on the CNCF serverless working group, basically helping people understand, what serverless is, the capabilities of it, what it's good for, what it's not, relative to other models like Kubernetes, right? Containerization or Cloud Foundry, that sort of thing. But yeah, I'm a developer advocate at IBM, helping people, end users mostly, get the most out of the platform, but also helping build the ecosystem where I can at the Apache level. So that's developing content, engaging people at meetups, talking to folks like Red Hat at conferences, and hoping they get involved with the project, things like that.
Excellent. Thanks, Daniel. And how about our other Daniel?
Sure. Yeah, so kind of in the same boat. I've been doing cloud technologies past couple of the years. Specifically, I was working on Cloud Foundry. And now with OpenWhisk, I'm taking a look and putting it on Kubernetes for right now and seeing what work needs to be done there.
Short and sweet. Thanks, Daniel.
It's going pretty good.
And next person, I think you just have NW as your name. So I don't. Does anybody go by the initials NW? If not, we'll go to Christian. Christian.
That's me.
Yep.
Yes, I'm a developer of OpenWhisk for about one and a half years now. Currently, I'm working mainly on the controller and special on making it high available.
This is not Marcus, though. This is Marcus. This was Christian. I was just, it was just feedback from my speakers.
Looks like you're on mute again, Matt.
Yes. Still figuring out Zoom, so I apologize. So sorry. So Marcus, you are next, and I'll correct the notes.
Right. So, I'm Marcus, also from Germany, sitting in the same office as Christian does. Should I say, pretty fresh out of uni, my first professional project, OpenWhisk, working for IBM. And currently mainly working on performance, anything Invoker related, you will find commits for me.
Cool. Jeremiah, you look next.
I'm Jeremiah Werner, Senior Software Developer at IBM. I'm one of the initial committers of the project, and I'm especially interested in hosting OpenWhisk on the Bluemix platform, running it at scale, looking at performance, and I'm working in the team together with Marcus and Christian.
Awesome. So, Carlos, I'm showing people I recognize by face. I don't know how to go to ask people to try and self-manage who speaks next. Carlos, go ahead.
Oh, sorry, joined late. Just going to keep it short. If you want to know more about me, hang up more in Slack and talk more in Slack. I work for IBM. Currently rotating RTP. I work with a team of developers here in OpenWhisk. I hope that am I mute or not? I think everybody can hear me.
We can hear you.
Okay, thumbs up if everybody can hear me. It's just an exercise, like a team building type of thing. Anyway, I'm concentrating more on user experience, on developer experience. Anything to do apart from deploying this on Bluemix, being an architect and a lead for the team of developers that we have here around packages, CLI, the providers, Kafka, Alarm, those service providers, and the UI in Bluemix. Also, in terms of open source, I have a background working for PhoneGap, Cordova. Apache Cordova is another Apache project. So that's my background in terms of open source. I'm a committer PMC there, and I'm one of the people that are, trying to be more involved of getting Apache, OpenWhisk into Apache out of incubation and releases. So I'll be more involved in that terms of getting releases out, working with the developers. I also do meetups, answer questions in Slack. So anything that enables developer happiness, I guess, for OpenWhisk is my mandate.
Okay. Thanks, Carlos. We have someone named Jack. No last name. Do you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah. Hello, my name is Johannes Engelke. I'm working for SAP Hybris in Munich, Germany. And I'm PO for a team which is looking into serverless technologies, especially OpenWhisk. So we try to get it running, or at least it is running, and check out what's going on there and make it work on Kubernetes and so on.
Cool. Thank you. James Thomas. James, are you there?
Let me unmute. Hello, everyone. My name is James Thomas. I'm a developer advocate at IBM, and I work over in the UK. And I've been kind of talking and presenting about OpenWhisk for about since the start of kind of 2016. So I'm just kind of enthusiastic about the project and serverless, and recently co-organised an entire conference on it in London, which is very successful. So in terms of the community, as well as kind of blogging, that kind of stuff, I'm the maintainer of the JavaScript library for the OpenWhisk project, and also the serverless framework integration is all me as well. So if you've got any questions about either of these two projects, you can find me on Slack.
Thanks, James. Lorna Mitchell.
Hi. At the risk of contributing to the IBM noise, I'm a developer advocate for IBM, but I don't work directly on OpenWhisk. I am working with the cloud data offerings, and I just use OpenWhisk as a user. I'm here as an interested user.
Thank you. We have Vadim. Did I pronounce your name correctly? Is it Vadim or Vadim? Or not. We have a couple people on phones, I see, but I don't have your names, just phone numbers.
Hi,
go ahead.
I'm Kavita. I work for Samsung. I'm dialing in from Seoul. I'm just trying to use OpenWhisk serverless platform for our use cases. So just getting started with, cloud computing itself. So I'm in the beginner phase.
And am I mistaken, but have you not joined some of the Kubernetes calls? Did you join?
Yeah, I attended one OpenWhisk Kubernetes call, I think 2 weeks ago. And yeah, I guess this is the first OpenWhisk conference.
Excellent, thank you. Another person on the line, 415 number, 672. Anybody? want to fess up?
That's probably me. This is Tyson Norris. I work at Adobe with Dragos, who some of you probably know. We're looking at using OpenWhisk for our Adobe branded serverless environment, and specifically we're investigating running OpenWhisk on Mesos beyond just deployment, and actually leveraging Mesos for container management within OpenWhisk.
Thanks, Tyson. I think I got everybody. If you haven't had a chance to speak yet, please feel free to speak up now. All right. So thanks, everybody. So I think these are going to be the standing topics. We basically just get mimicking what I've seen in other communities. So the main core OpenWhisk. So what's going on there? So I'll guess I'll ask Jeremiah, prompt you to give us what things are going on in main OpenWhisk of interest.
Can you share your notes, Matt?
Sure.
Or do you have something?
I'm keeping notes on a separate thing. If you want me to show the agenda, I can do that too.
Yeah. Should do the dev list. I'm so behind on dev list. I can just came from vacation, but anyway, follow along.
Yeah, Rob Allen just posted the link to the link on the dev list in the chat.
Okay.
Okay, cool.
All right. And I thought I spammed every possible place. Yeah, so again, I'll post the notes to the CWiki. I created a notes area where I put the Kube notes, and I'll put the videos to YouTube. I think I said that at the onset, but I'll reinforce that now. So Jeremiah, did you want, or Marcus, what areas of interest?
I can start, and I think Marcus, Christian, Carlos, you can jump in and give additional insights of what we're doing on the main. So first thing is we basically focus on stability of the system. This is one key thing. A second big bullet is performance. So trying to squeeze as much as we can out of the system with regards to throughput, and also looking at latency. So we have detailed test cases where we are checking and trying to improve. And third thing is scale out. Since we are running the system at high scale, we are looking at scale out of the controller, as Christian said, and we can probably give some insights on what's going on there. And then I think a lot of additional things in the ecosystem of the core, like Carlos and team is working on integrations with Kafka, with Cloudant, and also providing additional runtimes. So, Marcus, would you like to give probably some comments on performance, on the latest changes you did and observations, what you will do next?
Yeah, do you want to go on mute, please? Thanks. In the last couple of weeks, a lot has been done in terms of performance and latency work. Namely, one big thing was an entirely rewritten invoker. So we had an old invoker. We have the new thing which is coming up more and more in issues, which is called invoker reactive. As of quite recently, we are live on that in our production systems. We battle tested it through our pipeline for a couple of weeks, and I'm looking forward to actually make the switch very soon in open. So if you want to contribute anything to the invoker, make sure you're looking into that. The other one, the old one, is going away pretty soon. Of course, giving a grace period. Notable changes there were that we switched the architecture of the invoker to be based on Arca actors. If you don't know that, if you don't know what it is, look it up. It's pretty cool. It's basically all based on the reactive manifesto. So it's all reactive and based on events. And you know the drill. I can throw in some more buzzwords, but yeah, that's what it's about. the whole why we did this was to simplify code, to make it easier, to make it testable, and yeah, that's basically it. On the side note, it also got faster, so that's good. But that wasn't the main thing to look at. Second change was also pretty recently load balancing. We had a pretty simple, so to say, load balancing algorithm before, where you would just round robin through all the invokers after 50 invocations. You go to the next invoker, things like that. New algorithm is a bit more sophisticated. I won't go into too much detail now, but you can of course look up the source code. Bottom line is, as load balancing in I think in OpenWhisk always is, you need to maximize container reuse. You need to maximize for caching, basically, and that's what we did. Yeah, if there's interest in explaining the algorithm in more detail, we can certainly do that. But I think for the moment, I'll pass on the stick. Yeah, so it's invoker and load balancer.
Sounds like you're volunteering for a future topic to educate people.
Maybe also one thing you should mention is that you want to look at some tests for the future to have some specific scenarios and giving a baseline for those in open.
Right. A long asked feature by the guys from Adobe is to have open source performance numbers and open source performance tests. These are next on my list. And if you got any ideas on how we should approach that, any ideas on frameworks, nothing is yet decided. I'm kind of looking into Gatling, which is a Scala-based load test tool, but I'm certainly open to anything that's working and it's good for everybody. So feel free to throw in suggestions on the dev list or wherever else. That's all from my side.
So do we have a thread already that people can build upon, Marcus, or do you want to start a thread on the dev list?
I think there might be some. I have a look and post it in the chat if I find it.
It doesn't hurt to reboot. I mean, if you have an idea of what you want to use for a test harness or test clients or whatever, throw that out there. So feel free. Thanks. Anybody else want to talk to the main OpenWhisk for core? I know that a couple things that I've been thinking is I want to acknowledge that we have a new PHP runtime. And that was the first community runtime. I think Roderick also noticed that on the dev list. So, and I was also interested in Roderick's work about new console, because a lot of people are watching that, I know, in the Cube community and Mesos community. So can anyone comment on how that's going? I don't know if anybody's on, if you can. Jeremiah or Marcus, do you know anything about that, or do we need to defer to somebody else?
Yeah, basically, go ahead.
I was just going to pick up the runtime topic, Jeremiah, so you can talk about nuking console.
Yeah, basically we had console in the past of storing our properties and also did some health checks, but in the meantime we saw that it's not used anymore, not practical, so we will move the properties into Docker environments directly, and for health checking we're looking for different solutions. So that's the reason why we are nuking console at all, which is also good for others to adopt OpenWhisk because it's lightweight, so removing microservices out of it, which are not very useful at the moment. So we are not using it fully with all the features, so that's the reason why we remove it. So Marcus is, together with Roderick, is leading that work.
Yeah, thanks, guys. That's awesome work. Carlos, did you want to speak up on PHP? Thank you.
Yeah, so I want to thank Rob for taking the being brave enough and doing the reverse engineering, I guess, on how to figure out how to add a new runtime. Good things. I wrestle. I have reviewed the PR. I'm not a PHP expert or anything like that, so that's why it's taking some time. But hopefully we'll go in. The test will prove that it works. But one thing that I wanted to do, and Rob already rebased it, was there's a manifest section in the Ansible. We worked a little bit. Roddy mainly did the work. I did some work for terms of deployment. I made that more flexible. That before, when we deploy an invoker, we deploy all the runtimes available, and there was a hard-coded list. So recently I made the change more flexible that we parse the Ansible properties or variables to drive that work. That way we can adjust which runtimes do we want to deploy in which environments. And something as a note, I don't know, there's some things that people don't know in the open source, but we have a lot of environments in Bluemix. We have different staging environments that we deploy OpenWhisk everywhere, and we leverage that Ansible environment. So that's why it's very, very important to us, and we take care a lot about that and make it available in open source. So the net is it's available to have more flexibility by data-driven that runtimes through the manifest file, so we can deploy the runtimes in there. So, but now by adding PHP, we can update that manifest file, and then the deployment will go with it. So for other people, or I think I heard people that were trying to deploy OpenWhisk in their environments, if they just want to deploy OpenWhisk, let's say with Node.js only, or maybe they want to deploy with Python 3 only, or a specific Python image, it's more flexible to select which runtime, what is the Docker image, and then speed it up by not needing to build things that you don't have to deploy, making it more faster, the deploy step. So that was some things that we did, and then the default, selecting the default also is driven from the manifest. One area that I could be looking for contributors or people who want to help out or just getting started is around testing. So it'd be good if we can drive the testing by interrogating or driving the deployment bits or variables through to the test data, which I think today is only on Whisk properties. So the tests are more flexible, that if the tests are aware of what's the deployment environment. For now, it's just exclude the things that are not deployed manually, and you should be good to go with a Gradle task. So that's kind of the summary. I don't know if Rob wants to say something about the PHP, but I think his work is the building blocks for like documenting and improving on a way of doing more kinds and runtimes.
Yeah, I think the kind thing works quite well. It wasn't that difficult to add PHP. There's a little bit of opaqueness, I suppose, is the best way I can come up with, in how we go from a PR through to a merge or anything that is a non-trivial bug fix. So in terms of the OpenWhisk project in general, it'd be good to have some more clarity on that. I generally have no clue who would be responsible for anything, for asking questions about the processes involved. Now, in terms of the PHP side itself, the runtime is obviously a PR, so you need to grab my branch, spin it up locally, test it that way. I think it works well. One of the nice things is that there's test coverage for it, because there are test coverages for the other kinds. So following on from that, we've got testing for it, which is cool. And yeah, to follow what's going on in the chat, there is most definitely a plan to write some notes in the document on how to add new kinds to the system, which brings up a conversation we had on the dev list, or which we've started on the dev list, about handling different versions and keeping kinds up to date. Because obviously, as we accept new kinds into the project, we need to make sure that they're kept up to date, they're maintained going forward. And we need processes around getting rid of the old ones as they go out of date, and things like that need to be thought through. So that discussion has started. More contributions, more reading of that discussions would be helpful, I think.
Yeah, that's a good topic to draw in more.
So thanks. Yeah, I know that, Carlos, I'm relying on him a lot, his experience in Apache community, and I think that you'll see in August we're going to be working on what it takes to get releases out. I'm curious to see if we can get Apache to host a playground environment for us to run tests on. So I think we're all headed in the same correct direction, that we will have more tests, performance tests, and things that will become public. and that our processes for releases will become figured out mutually on the dev list based upon past Apache experience and Apache guidance. So that's my hope. I just know for my part that I'm working on, I think all repos now all have ASF headers for all possible source code types. I think there are a couple of PRs still outstanding, but once those are in, I'm going to work to do the integration of the RAT tool to start getting an accounting of all the third-party licenses we use in all of our libraries, and have formalized a way to record those things in some manner, maybe perhaps part of our release process. So that's about it on that topic. So Mesos and Kube. So I'm going to pick on you, Daniel, and ask. Yeah, go ahead.
Sorry for coming in. Before we go ahead with the next topic, probably Christian can share something about the controller scale out, just what he had in mind and working on, so that we have a.
Yes. Vadim and me are currently working on scale out of the controller. We plan to do this in 2 steps. Today we can't deploy 2 controllers next to each other because they have some state and they have a local in-memory cache, which could be inconsistent if we would do it. So as a first step, we have created a hot standby controller. This PR has been merged some weeks ago. It is only used when the first controller crashes. So the possible downtime decreases. The second step is to share the state and to share the cache. Currently, I'm working on a cache invalidation. We want to keep the in-memory cache because of the latency on the critical path. We will invalidate the cache with a Kafka message. And Vadim is currently working on sharing some load balancer state. Do you want to tell something about that?
Yeah, sure. So basically the main change for the shared states is that all the controllers, they will be in one Akka cluster. So if you want to have a deeper look into that technology, you can just Google for Akka cluster or Akka distributed framework. So in a nutshell, it's just several controllers. They share one map with the counters and they replicate to each other. So that's basically what I'm currently working on.
And as a next step, once that both pull requests are in, we will take a look then at Redis as a second level cache before our CouchDB or Cloud and Database. So
exactly.
For those who want to jump in on that topic, feel free to reach out to Christian, Vadim, or myself.
Exactly. Reach out to us, or we have created a wiki document in our public GitHub. If you have any comments or want to read more, just leave a comment.
So Christian, can I ask you to do me a favor? If you have, and this is true for everything, I think that we've had some advice in the email list that if there are significant discussions being held on an external wiki, that we link it to the dev list. Could you do that for me, please? To the dev list?
I have written a message to the dev list some weeks ago, and I also have put the link of this wiki article in there.
Thank you. And has no one responded? Do we need to prompt people to respond?
I'm not sure if someone has responded, but there was nobody who said no, don't do that. So okay. I took this as a yes. Let's do it.
Okay, fair enough. All right, any other topics on OpenWhisk anybody wants to share? If not, I'm going to pick on Daniel, as I was about to say, and ask him how things are going in the Kube world, and perhaps Tyson, if you're available on the phone, to talk about Mesos. So Daniel, what's going on in the Kube deployment world?
Sure. So, like you had said a little while ago before about that Nuke console PR, a lot of people are watching. That's pretty nice for Kubernetes. So I had actually started on making console an optional parameter to the components. And then I essentially built my own Docker images from that. However, with this nuke console PR that just removes it entirely, I essentially just rebased the master branch with it and created Docker images for the components to see how everything would be deployed. And right now, I'm able to deploy basically everything all through YAML files, which is pretty nice. And so I don't need Ansible at all, and it's straight environment variables. There's a couple things that are a bit odd about it right now. For example, when you create Kafka topics, there's been, since I last looked at it, there's been some PRs to twiddle more settings when you create these topics. And so originally, right, we were thinking that components could register themselves, but now with this extra ability to kind of do more configuration on these topics, you can solve it easily for Kubernetes, but in a very kube specific way. And I'm trying to have stuff be more Docker friendly and just build it all into the Docker images. So I'm not entirely sure what I want to do there just yet. But other things, I think I've solved most issues for deployments that I've had in some sort of environment variable way. So we should be able to build most of this stuff into Docker images, which is pretty nice.
Tyson, did you want to give an update on how Mesos things are going? You still there? Tyson was remote on phone. Tyson, are you able to? Oh, looks like we lost his audio. So one thought I had is that during ApacheCon, we actually moved the kube deployment out of dev tools to basically, have a more dedicated repo towards the changes we needed and not, and Mesos is still there in the dev tools. So one thing I was going to ask Tyson about is if you wanted to move the Mesos work out at the same level as kube, as I know I have plans to add more tools to dev tools. I don't want to get the testing and the shared stuff all messed up. So I think that might be a good idea. So Tyson, if you're on, let me, maybe I'll share that to the dev list today and get your reaction, others' reaction to that. So just some thoughts. I don't think we have anybody on that I recognize from API Gateway. I know that Matt Mon had intended to join, but he's not here today. Anybody want to come on API Gateway? Then if not, catalog packages and samples. I know that we have some new samples, if you will, that have been asked for people to comment on the dev list. Actually, a sample that we might be using for ourselves, which would be forwarding things from Slack to email lists. Specifically, we'll use it for Apache dev list to get daily digest of our conversations and threads there to the dev list. So that's something we might have as a sample coming up. Any ideas or comments on catalog packages or samples? If not, last standing topic is tooling utilities. I'll start. Hello.
Hi, Tyson here. Sorry, I was having trouble unmuting my phone.
Yeah, do you want to go revisit the status of Mesos topic?
Sure, sorry. I've been out of the office a bit, and I'll be out of the office a bit more later this week. But just recently, we've been doing some more experiments with using Mesos to launch controllers, launch containers from the point of view of the load balancer, and that's working well for tests. Working with Locus.io, which is clunky, but it does some aggregate reporting against load that's generated across multiple components in a cluster, and that's working well for us. So I'm looking forward to kind of cleaning it up and getting it to a point where we can share it. Simultaneously, one of our engineers is also working on kind of cleaning up the DCOS deployment pieces so that things like Kafka and CouchDB and the API Gateway get deployed on DCOS for standing up new environments. So it's going well. We just, partly because of my schedule recently, and partly because we need to do some more work to get it into a usable state, and we'll be sharing that hopefully soon. And I still owe some updates on the SPI approach, which I think will help get some of these pieces in a place where they can be moving forward without waiting on merging the master and things like that. So, and feel free to reach out to me if anybody has questions or comments on Mesos integration issues.
Thanks, Tyson. In terms of tooling utilities, I already covered I'll look to be creating a wrapper for the rat tool so we can automate it. In terms of WISC deploy, as of last Friday, my attention refocused on WISC deploy and the packaging spec, or package manifest-based deployment spec. So I'm looking to beef up the testing and get the specification out there in Markdown, and maybe look to push to have manifests for all of our existing catalog packages to be deployable through WISC deploy. And I hope to share that topic and do demo of WISC deploy on a future call here, just so people can see the power of it. And once that's all done, and once we actually have a handle on how we create releases for Apache, I'd like to have some of my colleagues, engineers that I work with, work towards looking at a registry, so a distributed registry for OpenWISC packages. So those are things I'd like to work on this year, just as an outlook. So that's all I have on tooling. Anybody else have anything on tooling utilities? If not, then we have no prepared agenda topics. So I know that there was mention earlier, Marcus, you might want to do a topic, or Christian or somebody, on some of your work. I know Jeremiah's offered up to me privately that we might just want to go back to some basics for people and just trace a request through the controller and invokers, and see where we log and create different artifacts. That might be interesting. So I'll just ask people to solicit topics to the email list, the dev list, or send them to me directly if you want, and I'll add them, and I'll post the agenda on Monday before the next call, which would be, I believe, next call is in 2 weeks on August 2nd. And I have my calendar up, that's from memory. And hopefully, Jeremiah, can you host the call? Are you still able to host on that date?
No, I am not able to host in August. I'm out of office.
Okay. Can anyone here volunteer? Perhaps the only person I would ask would be perhaps Marcus. Marcus, would you be able to host?
Yep, I can host it.
Thank you. I'll work with you, see if you need to use my Zoom information, if I can add you as a co-owner.
Yeah, right. Thanks.
With that, I really don't have that. We're at the bottom of our agenda, and I thank everyone for joining. Again, this is going to be a bi-weekly call, and hopefully we can get some. We're not going to do introductions every week. We might ask people to introduce themselves if they choose to, if they're new, but we'll get right to the topics of status, interesting things, PRs, and we'll hopefully have some topics lined up for 2 weeks' time. So thanks, everybody. Have a great rest of your day.
Thanks for organizing, man.
Bye, everyone.